Ooh, how does my mic sound, y'all? Shalom, brothers and sisters. I am so excited about this very first episode, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the very first episode of the Onyxx Exposition. We've got some news articles that I wanted to bring to the family's attention this week because, as usual, I have questions and I want to know what you're thinking too. Now, in the future, I'd like to possibly consider making some of these shows live where you can actually call in or come into the back room and provide your perspective as well. But right now, we'll place that on the back burner, see how this goes. And I wanted to examine some of these things with hopes that we could actually turn these into a possible teachable moment. So let's do this, shall we? Ladies and gentlemen, I am the Oracle 007, and this is the Onyxx Exposition. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. All right. This first part is going to be the Onyxx Exposition Tune Challenge. So in the comment section, the first person to respond with the following information will receive announcements and all musical bragging rights on the next show and until the next show. So what I'm going to need you to provide me with is going to be the name of this song, if you can recognize it, the name of the artist who made it famous in the 90s, and the first artist that actually brought the song to the forefront. Disqualifiers, however, will be laughing at my vocals until I'm actually able to find out how I can add the music in is going to be a problem for me. Don't put that in the comment section at all, or else I will make you pay. Alrighty then. Y'all ready? Let's do this. The angels start to sing, hey, that's the girl for you. So what are you gonna do? All right, y'all. Me, 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 me. You heard this. I need you to provide me with the information, okay? Don't try to act like you didn't recognize that tune. Okay. Do not try it. So don't forget what I'm going to need you to provide me in the comment section is the name of that song, the name of the artist who made it famous in the 90s, and the first artist to bring that song to the forefront. Alrighty then. All right. Let's get into This story is coming to us by way of people.com, and it looks like pretty much this is going to be the full story, where it says the family of 3 charged in PNB's rock murder as father is arrested in Las Vegas after going on the run. That's a problem for me, but I'm going to go ahead and get into this story, okay? And here we are. A 40-year-old man has been arrested and charged in connection with the fatal shootings of rapper PNB Rock 1 day after his wife and son were also taken into custody and booked. Freddie Lee Trone, 40, was arrested Thursday afternoon in Las Vegas and charged with 1 count of murder and conspiracy to commit robbery and 2 counts of second-degree robbery, according to the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office and the Los Angeles Police Department. Freddie's 17-year-old son was charged with the same counts as his father, while Freddie's wife, Chantel Trone, 38, was booked on 1 count of accessory after the fact, according to the DA's statement. Freddie has been at large following his wife and son's arrest, and the LAPD warned that he should be considered armed and dangerous. The murder of Mr. Allen dimmed a bright light in the lives of his friends, and importantly, his family. District Attorney George Gascon said the accused individual's alleged actions in this case were heartless and cruel and robbed the world of Mr. Allen's talents. Chantel Trone was arraigned on Thursday in Compton, California, and pleaded not guilty, according to KTTV. Her role in the September 12th shooting remains unclear, though a criminal complaint made public on Thursday and obtained by People claimed that the teen was the one who fired the fatal shot. He reportedly appeared in juvenile court on Thursday, the Los Angeles Times reported, but remains unclear whether he will be tried as an adult. This is sad, and I'm going to tell you why. The first part alone, where we see where this man, Freddie, was on the run. I need to understand, why are you on the run? You know, you think about this. The story is just so mind-boggling. Yeah, I wasn't familiar with this rapper at all, and I only heard one of his songs with another rapper by way of this guy who did the Carnell Stomp, Carnell Nichols. I don't know. I can watch his videos all day. And I'm just being honest with you. It'll be 30 years from now. I'll be not an old lady, but an older lady, older than I am now. And I will still watch these little shorts that he puts out doing that Carnell Stomp. Okay. And he can add a remix to it and everything, and I will still watch it. But I just remember him putting out something, rest in peace, I guess, to Mr. Allen, who is PNB Rock, and where they were saying something about every day we lit, you can tell me. So I'm listening to that going, oh, okay, well, let me see if I can pull up whatever the title was. And it's disheartening to know how this young man was taken out of this world. It's amazing. The fact that many people may not agree with this, but I can see why my parents raised us the way that they did. I can see why when we were younger and having to deal with this, where our parents were telling us that we need to leave the house by the time we're 18 or by the time that we graduated, because we lived in a Mayberry-like town. Okay. And again, this is a different day. I understand that the scriptures say that there's nothing new under the sun, but it's still a different day. Even though it's not new, we find, the same old ways of doing something, and it's disturbing. But coming from a Mayberry-like town where you're watching, this is a retirement town, and you're watching young people grow into people who just want to just kind of live like older people and kind of retire, and they haven't gotten out in the world, and they haven't done anything new, and they haven't done anything inspiring. They haven't aspired to anything more. I see why our parents did this. To give you some kind, making certain that we had a plan or a directive by the time that we were 18 that would have still led us to the next place. And I'm not sorry about that. Now, today, you probably don't want to do that to your children, because we see some things that are happening here that government and et cetera may not want to tell you about, but you don't want to just sit here and run your children out of the house now. But that was a different time. Okay. And I could understand that. Again, I'm going to visit this story where probably about within the past 3 or 4 years, I had gone back home and just decided, I remember working here at this place. It was a local fast food haunt. And I was like, I'm going to go get me something, because those were the best burgers. Okay. I'm not going to find that once I come back to this place. Needless to say, I went in there and here it is a little bit about 30 years later, 25 to 30 years later. I'm going into this place. And guess what? I see the same lady working at the front on the cash register that I used to work with as a teenager. Oh my God. I asked her how she was doing. Had she left there? She'd been there all that time. Can you imagine the amount of teenagers that she had seen come and go? And she was there. She wasn't a manager. She wasn't the person who bought the place. She was just there like a fixture in that place. And again, many of us don't want to do this to our children now, and that's understandable. But some of us who have children who don't want to progress any further, these are some steps that you're going to have to take. But this right here, seeing that lady there, she wasn't doing anything else. I don't know where she could be right now. But again, I saw her, and it's amazing that I thought back all those years when my father was like, nope, he didn't care what gender you were. This is going to have to be your plan. And he started telling us these things before we reached the rightful age of 16. Do you understand me? And I understood that when I saw that lady. Okay. And I was wondering because she was married then. I'm thinking she's still married. I thought about my husband, may he rest in power. But he was constantly just, okay, look, he was working on something. He was always doing something. I was always working on something. I was always doing something. Even it was just trying to get my education at the time, which, by the way, sometimes I can feel, I don't want to say what I was about to say because children may be listening, but we were always working on something, encouraging one another, supporting one another. And I saw that even within my own home growing up. My parents were constantly just working on something. They weren't overloading themselves with stuff, trying to get things that were just material. That's not what they were doing. Whatever they were doing was always for the betterment of the family. So this is something completely different. And I'm looking at this story wondering, what in the world is it like? Could it have been like living in this household? First of all, your father flees to the wind, okay? He's gone. That's it. He is sitting out here running. They have to catch him, even though they already caught you and your stepmother. What kind of man is this? What kind of man is this that will sit up here and plan with his teenage son that we did hear was possibly crying in the courtroom when he was being arraigned? What kind of man would plan anything like this? What is this? Can you imagine growing up in that kind of house? Can you imagine where your parents aren't telling you to do better? Where your parents aren't helping you to do better? What kind of life is this? To the point where I understand that this child went and removed items off of this man's body as he was leaving from one world into the next, never to come back again. How cold, how heartless can we be? I can't I can't even see myself having a discussion like this with my parents. They'll both be sitting over there looking at me like I'm crazy. And I'll be lucky if they don't call the authorities on me by the time I walk out of their house. I don't understand it. I don't understand how we don't think judgment is going to come at a time like this. But I started thinking about scriptures, you know, this bad parenting thing. I thought about how in Ephesians 6:4, where it says, Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in the discipline or the fear and the admonition in the instruction of the Most High Yah. Can you imagine? Proverbs 19:18. Discipline your son while there is hope. Do not desire his death. Because that's what this leads to. This child, he is a child at 17. And you were in on this plan with him? Like, are you for real? Wait a minute. And not even that. At 40 years old, you actually had the audacity. Somehow, you had the gonads up until then. And somehow, you lost your gonads. Did they get sucked back up into your body? And you took off running? You were at large. These people, the authorities, had your son and your wife. How does that happen? I don't understand how people commit senseless crimes like this. And you have the audacity to take off and run. Are you for real? I expect when you being big and bad that you need to just kind of stand there and wait for them to come get you. I mean, do any of y'all have the energy that Cleo had and set it off? Remember that? How she whipped those weapons out and she took that. Okay. She took that while she was giving it to them and the authorities were giving it to her. I can't believe this. I can't imagine. I don't have these parents. I don't care how angry I could have ever been at my parents. That I can tell you they would have never done anything like this. This is a fail in Israel. Proverbs 29:17 says, correct your son and he will give you comfort. He will also delight your soul. That is a beautiful thing. Okay. Deuteronomy 6, verse 6 through 9. And why didn't he teach his child this? These words which I am commanding you today shall be on your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your sons and shall talk of them when you sit in your house and when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and then when you rise up. That this thing is supposed to be going on in your house all the time. You know, even when you think about when the scriptures say he who spares the rod hates their child, don't do it. Okay? My own child will tell you he must be loved tremendously. I had no time for foolishness. Okay? And neither did the rest of his family. Neither one of the, especially not my father, neither one of the grandparents, and not myself nor his father. Nobody had time for it. Okay? Let's get back into that Deuteronomy 6 through 9. You shall bind them up when it says right here, you shall sit in your house and when you walk by the way and when you lie down and when you rise up. This word is supposed to consistently be discussed amongst your children. You shall bind them as a sign on your hand and they shall be as frontals on your forehead. You shall write them on the doorpost of your house and on your gates. This is a sad situation altogether. We don't know what the final resolution is going to be here, but hey, we pray the Most High just be with his family because at the end of the day, regardless of whatever was going on, this young man had some people out here who loved him. All right, y'all. Let's get into the next story. Okay, family. This information is being provided to you courtesy of CBS News, and I'm sure that many of you have already heard this story. This is the story of a young woman whose name is Nakia Shumake, whose boyfriend actually attempted to take her out using a weapon and bullets more than a dozen times. And what he did was he actually did this 14 times using a weapon and attempts to light her up with it. Okay. The police are believing that this guy may be in the Chicago area, but I wanted to kind of take a look at the whole dynamic of this particular relationship. I've heard and obtained information from outside sources in addition to CBS News that this young lady had been with him, I'm believing, since she was 15 years old. So, because they said they were dating for 17 years, that's going to be a problem for me. Excuse me. None of us should be dating anybody for 17 years at all. However, let's consider this, the fact that they had been together since they were 15. That's the sad thing. The next thing in this dynamic is the fact that you have 3 children with this man. And it is my understanding, and having heard some of her previous recordings as well and some additional information that came on, he was in and out of jail quite often. And by the time a woman, any woman, and this particular woman come to the realization of who they are, where they are in life, has their life gotten any better with you in it or on the outside of it, then she came to the realization that she was making life too easy for him. And I'm going to applaud her efforts, even after having been with him since you were a child, and that may have been all that you knew, and learning yourself in this time and coming to, you know, coming to the final equation that, hey, I'm making life too easy for him. I have these children that I have to take care of. I personally have to do better. And the moment that you say no more, that the thought that you can't even leave, even though you have no commitment within 17 years, not at what time in this person's life did they ever decide to grow up and just go, hey, I have children. I want to do better. But instead, you are in and out of jail. How are you making life better for this woman that's in your life, who's making your life easy, in addition to the children, you know, that's going to go on? These are your legends that you are purportedly leaving behind. And only for your babies, your legends that are coming up behind you, they're going to be everything that they see you be. In this case, hopefully not. To witness you attempting to take their mother out to the point that these babies jumped out of the vehicle to go run toward their mother, and that thing choking her up so much. Oh my God. Listen to me. The strength of you, the strength of a woman, the strength in everything that you do, that part, seeing that she actually saw that and got up even after having those wounds go in her 14 times. She got up, seeing that she could get up for her babies. Now, I pray that this young woman goes on to do something tremendous. One of the things that I could not get past that I heard her mention on a previous recording was that he is reaching out to her on social media. I don't know how childish or how much more childish we could be. The fact that you did this, and for any of you that actually go and pull this video, the way he's jumping like he's pointing his weapon at gang members and dodging from them, you are pointing your weapon at somebody who is defenseless in that moment. And he looked like he was enjoying every bit of it. But again, the fact that she got up, that strength that was in her, and the fact that he's still attempting to antagonize her only because she said, this is no more. I will not deal with this anymore. You can't have your children growing up like that, especially when you're dealing with daughters and even sons. You cannot have this. So kudos on her for leaving. Most High, please protect her and watch over her life. And I pray that they catch him, because this is utterly ridiculous. The next article that I wanted to bring up, and I will include all of these items in the description box, okay, is this. Listen, if this was not judgment and this was NBC News in which this report is being made, and this was actually on August 1st, but I just have to say it. It said a Texas man who pointed his weapon at a woman, got her in the neck, was taken out himself on that Saturday when that item within that weapon hit him also. So this item ricocheted off of her into him. Talk about judgment. Look, we have to be mindful. I'm not certain what's going on here. I am the mother of a son. And one of the things that I have always done and try to make sure to continue to do, because I need this thing to stay in him, even though, he's up there, way up there. This is not a teen. This is not a 20. This dude is way up here. Hey, if you're ever dating, if there's ever somebody that doesn't want you, walk away. Be like your mom. Trust me, your mom has the gift of goodbye, and I don't care. I will leave it right there. I am not somebody who just has to have closure. I don't know if that's my dad in me, the masculine part of me. I could care less. And a lot of men who probably will not appreciate that. I don't care. I do not necessarily need closure. Once you make your situation or your circumstance, once you make it known and you let me know, we're good. Have the gift of goodbye. Don't ever sit there and linger over somebody who does not want you. And if you don't want her and you already know that early on, or you're not even serious about relationships, I implore him, please do not do this to any woman. Don't mistreat women, because when you do, it's going to come back on you. There will be a judgment imposed. And as we can see right here, with even the object flying out of that weapon, you thought you were going to take her out. She got patched up. You are now 6 feet under. So we have to be certain, we have to be mindful when we're doing these things. Always have the best intention. If you don't have the best intention whenever you are dating somebody, please just leave that stuff alone. Please, by all means, if you don't have the best intentions whenever you are dealing with someone, leave that alone. And if somebody is leaving you, then let them go. Always have the gift of goodbye. All right. And finally, I wanted to kind of visit this particular story. I'm not sure how many of you all would have remembered the young lady who had gone viral on TikTok because her husband, while she was away at a conference, to finally take an opportunity to support her dream, he left her and left with everything, things that belonged to her. He left behind her jewelry, a couple of knickknacks that were thrown behind on the floor, and he left her wedding dress, which was, if ever there was a message to leave behind to someone that you had been together with since, and this is another relationship from the time that you were 15, and they had been married at that time for 5 years and had been doing counseling. And he told her on the day of her trip that he wanted his wife and he wanted his marriage, and they were going to do whatever they had to do to take care of it. So she left on that trip in peace. By the third day, she couldn't get a response from him. And that was on a Wednesday. She returned from her trip on a Saturday, only to find what she found, which was very heartbreaking. So I don't know how many of you all will actually remember that story, but I was posting the story between her and Tamron Hall from the first story that was done last year in 2021 on the Tamron Hall show, and what is going on in her life right now, and the fact that she's living her best life. And I'm going to say this: I couldn't think of a better way to end this relationship PSA segment. This is for men and for women. One, when you care about someone, by all means, allow yourself to be vulnerable and go all in. Make sure everything is appropriate as much as possible at best. Okay? Make sure all things are appropriate as much as possible at best. Two, if you find yourself not in love with this person or you cannot treat them right, by all means, please let them know. Do not be a coward. I do not understand people who do things and then take off running. I am somebody, I will probably sit there for a moment. I'm not going to say anything. But if I find myself to be the offender, I am going to say something. And my family, the CUC, will tell you that. If I find myself to be the offender, I'm going to say something. I'm going to apologize and I'm going to make myself clear. But if I know I am innocent of all charges and all crimes and whatever is going on, trust and believe I will say nothing. Okay. But it's burdensome and I'm finding it foolish when I'm seeing that there are so many people who will just sit here and just abandon anything like that. Yes, I have the gift of goodbye, but we have to be mindful with how we are doing things in relationships with people that we are sleeping with and claim to love and have children with. Be mindful of those things. Okay. 3, I will say this to any man or woman. Yes. Have the gift of goodbye. Don't sit here. Don't loiter. Once she tells you she doesn't want to be in a relationship with you anymore, despite how you may feel in that moment, let it go. Let it go. Understand it and let it go. I often think that sometimes we rob ourselves. We don't realize, hey, maybe I'm not supposed to be with this person and I will go on to something better. You will be hurt. Your heart will be broken. You may not understand, but if you just take a moment and actually let it go, I guarantee you, time does heal all wounds. And eventually you will get to the place where you will find out why that happened. Okay? And when that person contacts you later on in life or even tries to return to you, you'll understand. Hey, thank you so much. You'll be able to just be filled with joy and tell them, thank you for setting me free. I appreciate this. Because if it had not been for this, I wouldn't have wound up in this wonderful place. And don't be nasty about it. I'm telling you, you're going to a better place. And even if you're not, what winds up happening, and I can even say this, and just hearing about some of the mother-son relationships by some of the rappers that, gosh, I wasn't crazy about these group, but these people who sang "You Who's Down with OPP," that I remember hearing a story by one of them and someone else who was happy that when their mother kicked them out of the house, they couldn't have been more grateful. They said that's what gave them the drive to go and do something better. So when somebody separates from you, why don't we just have that drive to go and do something better? To go and do something more, something that you probably hadn't had before, that you're now in a place where you can develop. So always take those things for something better. It feels like you're losing something tremendous in that moment. And sometimes it feels like, oh, I just can't live without you. Trust me. You'll find out just how good the Most High Yah is, and you will find out you're probably living life better than you could have ever imagined without them if you just let it go. There's no need to hurt or harm anyone, and there's no need to stand here and stay here in a place where you are not growing. So, by all means, take these things for whatever's best and watch yourself mature tremendously over time. Okay? So that's my relationship PSA. And once you watch the very last story with Miss Rossman, Portia Rossman, on Tamron Hall, watch the first one, the 2021, and the second one, 2022, and you'll watch her go from hurt to something tremendous going on in her life right now. So do that for yourselves. Learn how to let go. Okay. Pain is not always a requirement in every relationship. And if you're going to sit here and hurt somebody because they've decided to walk away from you, then you definitely have a problem, because then you're getting into this mode of just where you were controlling the person. I always despise that. But do that thing. Okay? Love yourself above all. Because if you love yourself, if you have that self-love within you, you don't have to worry about these things. And you can learn how to let go peacefully, and you can learn how to move on peacefully. All right. All right. Alrighty, y'all. Now, this part of the show is the Onyxx Exposition Biblical Trivia. Let me repeat for those in the back, the Onyxx Exposition Biblical Trivia. So, in the comment section, the first person to respond with the following information will receive an announcement and bragging rights on the next show up until the next show. Okay. Okay. Now, first question. Who was the first person to be thrown into the fiery furnace? Who was the first to be thrown into the fiery furnace? Also, who made the order to throw them into the fiery furnace? And I repeat, who made the order to throw them into the fiery furnace? Who commanded it? And finally, why? Why did they do this? All right, let's go ahead and get that done. Put it in. As if all of these stories have not been doozies, this final one is a complete and utter miscarriage of justice. I actually ran across the story where the Young Turks, and I cannot think of the name of the Black gentleman who will head up these stories, but he did an awesome job. But this just aggravated me. Um, Nobody can take away this pain. Families seethe over plea deal in the crash that took away 4 young mothers. This is in the Daily Commercial. Um, this story is coming out of Lake County in Florida. Okay. So let me get into this. After weighing and delaying a plea deal for 5 months, a judge Thursday agreed to sentence Heather Finley to 4 years in prison for causing a 2018 crash that claimed the lives of 4 young mothers. Okay? 4 years for 4 lives. Natalia Davis said in her comments to the circuit judge, Larry Metz. Do not forget his name. I want you all to pray about that name, okay? Because this man could have done something else and he chose not to. We have been using our power in utter foolishness to sit here and badger one another, black men against black women and black women against black men, and who's not desirable and all this other foolishness going on, 7 to 12-year wars that we're starting against one another. Let us use our tongue for some real power, the power that the Most High has given each and every one of us right now. Okay? This case is utterly ridiculous. 2018, young mothers were taken out of this world from this woman who had a DUI. And keep in mind that you hear by some accounts, their testing of her didn't occur until approximately maybe 4 or 5 hours later. And her blood alcohol level was still over the legal limit, in accordance to what these reports are saying, allegedly. Okay. I'm going to post this story in the information in my description box, but this is how this whole crash happened. The mothers, with an total of 8 children between them, from a newborn to 12 years old, were out on a rare mom's night on April 8th, 2018. Okay. Tiara Chambers was driving a 2018 Chevy Malibu with passengers Rosalind Felton, Cambria Smith, Shaquilla Smith, and I believe there was another young woman. There's Tierra, Rosalind, Cambria, and Shaquilla. Okay. Just after 2 a.m., the Breeze Bar had just closed. Chambers was making a left turn out of an unpaved parking lot onto the State Road 50 when her vehicle was struck by Finley's Silverado pickup. I'm also going to find that story that I pulled on YouTube by the gentleman with the Young Turks so that you can hear it, because the part where you hear about her complaining about her brand new vehicle, the one that was drinking, being destroyed, is just amazing. Okay. Finley, and that's the white young lady, was driving a reckless speed of 59 miles per hour and posted 35 miles per hour zone. According to the arrest affidavit, it was dark and rainy. In addition to the weather conditions, there were several pedestrians in the area. And listen to the judge. You have to be mindful when you are listening to people who are speaking with this sweet, honey buttery tongue. This is a judge, okay? These people have pens that they wield to take your lives away for being absolutely innocent. Okay? This is what he did in this instance to someone who was absolutely guilty. He postponed sentencing in April after hearing the family's impassioned statements on Thursday. He said he felt better. You hear that? I, I, I feel better about the negotiated plea after ordering a pre-sentence investigation and receiving new information. Oh, what was that per se? Pray tell. He said, and his options were limited. This is the judge now. He could have let this thing go to trial, but he said his options were limited. He could reject the plea deal outright, leaving open the possibilities that the state could drop the case, but he had no way to alter the terms. Why not, Judge? Isn't that what you do, Judge? Isn't that what the public pays you for, sir? Nothing. Can you believe it? He could reject the plea deal outright, leaving open the possibility that the state could drop the case, but he had no way to alter the terms, accepting it was the only way that he could guarantee that Finley would do prison time. It says the victim's family members expressed outrage in the court. When family members weren't taking turns making victim impact statements at the podium, they were muttering and talking to each other in the spectator section. A common theme was Black Lives Don't Matter. Finley, 27, looking every bit of 77, is white. This whole case has been blown purposely because of race, Jaquesian Turner told the prosecutors after the hearing was adjourned. This judge could have let this thing go, y'all. Even if you see the picture of this woman seated in front of, she looks like she's been drinking now. There's no way this woman is 27. Okay? All of the sisters of the CUC over 35, I can tell you none of us look like this. I can assure you of that. I can assure you. I can't believe it. She voluntarily took a blood alcohol test, but it was 5 hours after the crash. Her defense team filed a motion challenging the results, saying that they were based on a lack of scientific reliability. Listen. We have times to sit here and talk about all manner of utter foolishness, and I don't have time for it anymore. When you hear these stories, I want y'all to remember. I want you to pray to the Most High. I want you to uphold these things, okay? Because I have some scripture to kind of back these things up. So that judge, doing that. And again, It's not for us to ever while out or anything. But I want you to listen to what these scriptures have to say about these unbalanced scales, unrighteous justice, and unrighteous judgments. Ecclesiastes 8 and 11 through 13. It says, because the sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily. Okay, that happened in 2018. Therefore, the heart of the sons of men is fully set in them to do evil. Though a sinner does evil 100 times, his days are prolonged. Yet I surely know that it will be well with those who fear Yah, who fear before him. But it will not be well with the wicked. No, sir. No judgments, because what you did was wicked. It won't be well with you. Nor will he prolong his days, which are as a shadow, because he does not fear before Yah. And the same thing for Finley. This should have never been, a plea deal. So many of our people are still locked up over marijuana charges and things like that. Father, walk with us, as you said you're going to deliver us out of this. Isaiah 30:18. Therefore, Yah waits to be gracious to you, and therefore he exalts himself to show mercy to you. For Yah is an Elohim of justice. Blessed are all those who wait on him. For those of us, so many of us who are waiting on true justice, keep our hands in his. We feel like we get tired of waiting, and we feel like we can take these things by force, but you cannot. You can't. Okay? Let us keep our hand in his, because he is the one. Yah is the one who says, I am Yah. Vengeance is mine and I will repay. And he does. And he could do it better than any of us ever could. Keep your prayers and supplication before him. Proverbs 20:22. Dare say I will do. It says, do not say I will repay evil, because that's not our job. Wait for Yah. He will deliver you. Unequal weights are an abomination to Yah, and false scales are not good judgments, Miss Finley. And the same thing to that young man who sat there and tried to take out his children's mother. All of this. There's a justice that awaits. Okay? There's justice. Psalm 37:9. For evildoers shall be cut off, but those who wait for Yah shall inherit the land. And then it goes on to say, in just a little while, the wicked will be no more. And though you look carefully at his place, he will not be there. But the meek shall inherit the land and delight themselves in abundant peace. The wicked plots against the righteous, and that's what you're seeing here, and gnashes his teeth at him. But Yah laughs at the wicked, for he sees. We may not see it. Even Sister Weezy, I want you to know, he's laughing. He sees that his day is coming. These things you don't get to get away with it. Okay? He sees that his day is coming because he knows what he has planned. The wicked draw the sword and bend their bows to bring down the poor and the needy, to slay those whose way is upright, and their sword shall enter their own heart, and their bows shall be broken. Is that not what happened to the young man that took out his weapon to hurt that young lady and wound her in the neck, and then that thing ricocheted off of her back into him? And again, I will repeat, and she was patched up that day, and he is now 6 feet under, never to return again. We have to be mindful with our tongues and these judgments that we are pronouncing. For me, I am only speaking what the scripture says is going to happen in these cases that have unrighteously been ruled and used unjust scales and balances. Okay? Luke 11:42. Woe unto you, Pharisees, for you tithe mint and rue and every herb, and neglect justice and the love of Yah, though you ought to have done without neglecting others. Psalm 5 and 6. You shall destroy those who speak falsehood. This is the Most High, because he says the Most High abhors the bloodthirsty and deceitful man. And finally, Proverbs 19:9. The word of Yah affirms this: a false witness shall not go unpunished, and he who speaks lies shall indeed perish. Be mindful with how you handle us, and be mindful with how we handle one another. You have just experienced the Onyxx Exposition, and I am the Oracle 007. Love, peace, and blessings to all of my sisters and brothers. The Most High keep you and give you the most beautiful week every week. He is going to deliver us up out of this, y'all. Keep your hand in His. Be blessed.